The rain hammered the tin roof of our old farmhouse like God's own judgment. Each drop a accusation I couldn't outrun. "You're dead to me, Levi. Get the hell out before I drag you." Dad's voice cracked like thunder. His face twisted not in anger, but something worse. Disgust that carved right into my bones. I stood there in the mudroom, backpack slung over one shoulder, the word faggot still echoing off the walls, as the screen door slammed shut behind me, sealing me out of the only home I'd ever known. That was 16 years ago, in the flat, unforgiving heart of Nebraska, where the cornfields stretched like accusations under a sky that never quite cleared. I was 18, fresh out of high school, and the confession had slipped from my lips during dinner, raw, desperate, after months of choking it down. Mom had frozen, fork midway to her mouth, her eyes pleading for me to take it back. But Dad? He exploded. Bible verses flew like shrapnel. Leviticus, Romans, the fire and brimstone specials he'd thundered from the pulpit every Sunday as the deacon of our little Methodist church. By midnight, I was hitchhiking east on I-80, thumb out in the downpour, wondering if freedom tasted like wet asphalt and regret. The first months blurred into a gray haze of survival. I washed up in Omaha first, crashing on church basements and soup kitchen cots, the irony bitter as the instant coffee they served. Jobs came and went. Dishwasher at a Greasy Spoon, stock boy at a Walmart where the manager leered a little too long. I learned quick. Keep your head down, your heart locked, and your wallet closer than your dreams. Letters from Mom arrived sporadically, postmarked with tear stains and apologies. "He's praying for you, Levi. Give it time." But time didn't bend for prayers. Dad's silence was louder than any sermon, a void that swallowed Christmases and birthdays whole. Chicago saved me, or at least that's what I tell myself. I scraped together bus fare and landed there in the dead of a February winter. The windy cities bite sharper than any Nebraska gale. The skyline loomed like a promise, tall, unapologetic, lights flickering against the lake's endless black. I found a studio walk-up in Wicker Park, the kind with peeling wallpaper and a hot plate that doubled as a stove. By day, I slung coffee at a hipster cafe on Milwaukee Avenue. By night, I haunted the poetry slams and dive bars, scribbling verses about boys who looked like ghosts and loves that felt like home fires. That's where I met Nathan. It was a Tuesday open mic, the air thick with patchouli and cheap whiskey, stage lights cutting through the smoke like spotlights on a confession. He stepped up, guitar slung low, all lean angles and quiet fire. Dark hair falling into eyes the color of Lake Michigan on a stormy day. A faded Ramones tee clinging to his frame like it knew his secrets. His voice hit low and gravelly, singing about a boy lost in the corn, chasing shadows across state lines. The crowd hushed. I swear the room held its breath. When he finished, I bought him a drink at the bar, my hands shaking as I slid it over. "That was, you nailed the ache," I said, voice barely above the murmur. He grinned, slow and sideways, like he was letting me in on a private joke. "Ache is easy when you've lived it. Name's Nathan. You read?" "Levi." "Yeah, a little. Neruda mostly. The stuff that bleeds." We talked till last call, words tumbling like dominoes. His upbringing in a Milwaukee trailer park, Dad a welder who drank too much and loved too little. Mine, the golden boy turned pariah. He was 22, a year ahead in the School of Hard Knocks, studying graphic design at the community college while bartending weekends. There was no spark at first, just a sparkler fizz, comfortable, like slipping into jeans worn soft from too many washes. But by our third coffee, his black, mine with too much sugar, the fizz caught. We kissed in the alley behind the cafe, rain-slick bricks pressing into my back, his hands tentative on my waist, like he was afraid I'd vanish if he held too tight. Love crept in sideways the way the best ones do. Nathan moved into my shoebox apartment that summer, his sketches papering the walls, bold lines of cityscapes and shadowed lovers, colors popping like firecrackers against the beige decay. We'd wake to the L train rattling past, brew Folgers and chipped mugs, and wander the lakefront hand in hand, fingers laced loose enough to deny if cops rolled by. He taught me to laugh at the hurt, to trace constellations on his freckled shoulders while he hummed Springsteen. I showed him the poetry of survival, how to mend a broken lease with duct tape optimism, how to turn rejection letters into coasters. but love's a jealous God, demanding tribute in the form of buried bones. Mine surfaced on a crisp October morning, 3 years in, when Mom's letter arrived, handwritten, the envelope crisp as if ironed. Levi, honey, it's cancer. Stage 4. Your father's. Not the same. Come home if you can. I stared at the words till they blurred, Nathan's arms wrapping around me from behind, his chin on my shoulder. We go, he said simply, no questions, just the quiet steel I'd fallen for. The drive back to Nebraska was a funeral procession in slow motion. Interstate 80 unspooling like old film, goldenrod fields fading to the flat brown of regret. Nathan drove the rental, his free hand on my knee, thumb circling absolution. We pulled into the farm at dusk, the house sagging under years of neglect, porch light flickering like a hesitant heartbeat. Mom met us at the door, thinner than memory, her hug a fragile anchor. Oh, Levi, she whispered, eyes flicking to Nathan, widening just a fraction. And this is? Nathan, he said, extending a hand, voice steady. Levi's partner. She nodded, quick and teary, pulling us inside to the smell of pot roast and liniment. Dad was in the recliner, a ghost in flannel. 65 going on ancient, oxygen tube snaking from his nose, Bible open on his lap like a shield. His eyes met mine across the room, and for a heartbeat, I saw the man who'd taught me to bait a hook, not the one who'd barred the door. But then his gaze slid to Nathan, and something shifted. Recognition? No, revulsion sharpening like a blade. Levi, he rasped, voice a wheeze through the mask. Didn't think you'd show. Couldn't not, I said, throat tight. For Mom. We tiptoed through the week. Awkward dinners where forks scraped louder than words, Mom's cough punctuating the silences. Nathan was a rock, charming her with stories of Chicago's hidden murals, helping with dishes while I stared at the ceiling, wrestling ghosts. But Dad watched him, hawk-eyed, questions simmering behind the cough syrup haze. On the third night, as thunder rumbled distant, he cornered me in the barn, the air thick with hay and old betrayals. Who's the boy, Levi? Really? His hands trembled on the pitchfork handle, knuckles white. I leaned against a stall, heart pounding. Nathan, we've been together 4 years. He's good to me, Dad. Better than. He cut me off with a bark of laughter, bitter as burnt coffee. Nathan Hale? From the church youth group? The one I sponsored for that art scholarship back in '09. The world tilted. Nathan Hale. The name clicked. Vague memories of a quiet kid with a sketchpad, always in the back pew, eyes down when Dad preached hellfire. I'd been 15, too wrapped in my own secrets to notice. But Dad had pulled strings, paid tuition out of his own pocket, called it investing in a lost soul. And Nathan, he'd never said a word. You knew him? My voice cracked, the barn spinning. Dad's eyes bored in, unyielding. Knew him? I saved him, boy. Pulled him from that trailer trash life, gave him a shot. And this is how he repays it. Seducing my son, turning you into this. He spat the word like venom, stepping closer, the pitchfork forgotten. I told him, back when he left for school. Stay straight, Nathan, or you'll burn. Warned him off you before you even knew what you were. And he lied. Used you to spit in my face. Betrayal hit like a gut punch, doubling me over. Not Dad's words, those I'd armored against years ago, but Nathan's silence. The omissions stacked like bricks. The way he'd always changed the subject on family, the guitar song about cornfields that now felt too pointed. Had it been pity? A rebellion scripted against my own father? I stumbled back to the house, rain lashing my face, thunder cracking overhead like the fracture in my chest. He was waiting on the porch, silhouette sharp against the storm-lit sky. Levi, wait. You knew. It wasn't a question. Lightning forked, illuminating the guilt in his eyes. He nodded, slow, rain matting his hair. Yeah, your dad. He was kind to me back then. Saw something in my drawings, paid for classes. But he also saw the truth in me, the same truth he hated in you. When I met you in Chicago, it was coincidence, I swear. But when I realized, couldn't tell you, didn't want to drag his shadow into us. Coincidence. I laughed, hollow. Or revenge. Sticking it to the old man by loving his queer son. His face crumpled, hands reaching, then falling. God, no. It was you, Levi. Always you, the way you read my silences, the way you made that shoebox feel like a castle. I was scared. Scared you'd think I was broken too, carrying his charity like a debt. The storm broke then. Not just the sky but me, sobs wrenching free, years of locked grief spilling onto the splintered boards. Nathan pulled me close, and I let him because fury needs a harbor, even a cracked one. We stood there till the rain eased to a drizzle, his heartbeat syncing with mine, a rhythm older than grudges. Inside, Mom found us like that, wrapped in each other's arms, and she didn't flinch. Dad wheeled in behind her, eyes hollowed by the scene. For a long beat, silence reigned, thicker than the humidity. Then he spoke, voice a rasp. I was wrong, Levi. About you. About everything. It wasn't absolution, not yet. Just a crack in the armor wide enough for light. Mom passed 2 weeks later, in the hospice wing of the county hospital, surrounded by wilting daisies and the hum of monitors. We buried her under the old oak, the one she'd planted on her wedding day. Dad stood graveside, leaning on a cane, Nathan at my side, hand in mine, unashamed. As the dirt settled, Dad turned to us, eyes wet. Nathan, he said, extending a hand that shook but didn't waver. You kept him safe. Thank you. Nathan took it, grip firm. Family's what we make it, sir. Not what we're born into. The drive back to Chicago was quieter, the plains a blur of healing green. Dad's letters started coming, sporadic, scrawled, laced with questions about the city. Apologies folded like fragile birds. He never fully bent, but he cracked open enough to let love breathe. Nathan and I, we rebuilt on truth's sharper edge, dates now laced with old stories, his guitar songs rewritten without shadows. Forgiveness isn't a fairy tale. It's work, gritty as Nebraska soil. But in the rear view of that rental car, with Nathan's hand on my thigh and the skyline calling, I glimpsed it. A life not despite the fractures, but through them. Human, messy, achingly real. And for the first time in 16 years, it felt like coming home.